The International Monetary Fund says the global economy remains on a narrow path to recovery. There are signs of progress, but much more needs to be done to return to sustained global growth. Many countries are now implementing policies to improve their economic prospects. The IMF says global growth will come in at 3.5% this year, rising to 4% in 2013.
So our baseline is that growth is going to be slow in advanced countries, sustained, not great in emerging market countries. But I think the caveat or the footnote is there are many risks around the baseline.
The IMF says there are two key risks to the outlook. If disruptions in the euro area worsen, bank lending would likely dry up, cutting further into growth by choking off credit to companies and households. That would make a difficult task even harder for countries trying to lower their government debt and deficits.
There are always many risks, but there is just one overwhelming one, which is another euro crisis. Some measures were taken, actually important measures were taken as a result of the last one, but they're not quite enough. If you look at the program countries, or if you look at some other countries in Europe, they still have a terrible problem of achieving competitiveness, decreasing the fiscal deficit, having growth.
The IMF says the second risk is that oil prices could be pushed up some 20 to 30% if supplies from Iran are cut off without supply increases elsewhere to compensate. Further uncertainty about oil prices could trigger a sharp increase in prices.
What we looked at was a scenario in which there was general uncertainty in the Middle East, so the oil price went up by roughly 50% for a long time. That is not good. That we think would decrease the level of output over 2 years for the US, for Europe by about 1%. More so in Japan, emerging Asia, because they import more oil, so 1.5% roughly.
Emerging market and developing countries remain a bright spot in the global economy. These economies are projected to grow at 5.75% to 6% through 2013.
The outlook is rather good. We predict, less growth than in the past few years, but still strong growth. They face a tough international environment. That's really where the problems come from, for the most part.
Low-income countries, including sub-Saharan Africa, have been particularly resilient.